Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. This podcast is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Now more than ever, our online reliance has been rapidly increasing. We stream our favourite shows, we keep in touch with our loved ones, we even watch podcasts like The Brew. And we like to think our information is safe, but as our online footprint increases, so does our need for proper security. Yeah? Surfshark is a VPN service that protects your information by encrypting all the data that you send through the internet, keeping anyone unwanted from seeing it. Another great reason to use a VPN is because content from different streaming services don't want you to watch everything in every different country. It's a disgrace. There's certain shows for America, certain shows for Canada, certain shows for Mexico, Venezuela, UK, Netherlands. How about you have access to all of them and get access to everything, whether that's Netflix, Amazon Prime, or even football highlights on Twitter. And with Surfshark, you can solve that problem by simply changing your location. Also, if you do go on abroad on holiday and you're in Tenerife and you're in Faliraki, you still want to watch BBC iPlayer, don't you? You still want to watch Premier League football. Change your location back to the UK while you're gone to get access to all of your home comforts. And currently, Surfshark are bringing you genuinely one of the most ridiculously good deals I've ever heard. Use the link in the description and use code Paddock, as you can see on the screen there, code Paddock. You will get, wait for this, 85% off, which means for something like a couple of quid a month, you can be fully protected. Plus, you get 3 months for free, and Surfshark also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. So use the link in the description, promo code Paddock, as you can see there, for, again, let me just listen to this, 85% off, 3 months for free, and a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Jay here, Stretford Paddock. That's Joe Smith. This is the Paddock Podcast.
Oh!
Hey.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Nice,
How are you?
I'm really well, actually.
Yeah, you look well.
Yeah.
Look very debonair.
Debonair.
Yeah.
Debonair's closed down, hasn't it?
Debonair is where producer Callum's from.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad.
You look well.
Thank you. Yeah.
What colour would you call that jumper? Sort of mint meets mustard. Not mustard, pistachio.
I'd call it neutral.
Neutral tones.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
What are we talking about today, Jay?
I'm going to talk about the fact that Ten Hag's made loads of signings, have all been mint. Or there or thereabouts. That's
it's interesting,
what
isn't
it?
Because we're in the January transfer window, we've only made one signing this window. But I think we need to look at United's signings under Ten Hag so far, because we'll reference a little bit, talk about how these signings have come about. They very much smell of a Ten Hag fingerprint, all of them, don't they? I don't think it doesn't seem like our systems have gone, here you go, here's who you get in. He's sort of walked in and gone, 200 scouts worldwide. Have you looked in the Eredivisie by any chance? And they went, no. We were good. Oh no, we were good. Where is that? Holland. Well, they call it the Netherlands. We were going to look there.
Oh, why is it you were thinking of getting from
we
there?
played against Tyrell Malacia, who was sensational for the final.
What's it? Tyrell
Malacia.
Yeah, he's on the list.
Is he?
Yeah.
Were you going to get him anyway?
Yeah, we're going to get him. Anyone else?
Well, Antony was amazing.
Antony Martial. Yeah, we've got him.
No, Antony plays for me. Played at Ajax under me. Brazilian.
Oh yeah, Antony. Yeah, we love him. We've always loved him.
What's his surname again?
He don't have one. He's like Madonna. Or Cher.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's how it went down, didn't it?
I don't. I mean, we'll get into that, but it feels to me very much that Ten Hag sort of does what he wants, and United
he does what he wants.
Don't really have any choice.
But it's Ten Hag. He does what he wants.
I think we should go through. We're sort of halfway through the season now. A lot of other teams are completing big money transfers.
Sorry, we've been corrected already.
Excuse me.
2 signings. Respect Butland.
Sorry to Butland.
Sorry, Jack, if you're watching. That is a very good point there. We have made 2 signings.
I bet you're fuming, aren't you?
Why?
You've held Butland.com for a very long time, and surely now that you're making a bit of, just when you thought you might make a bit of money,
that spelling mistake's coming as like a gold mine.
You thought there was only one T.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Everyone laughed at me, said, you've dropped the right clanger there, but now he's laughing.
Yeah.
Hey,
the proud owner of Butland.com.
Exactly. Yeah. A tribute to Jack Butland's career.
It wasn't to start with, unless his career was very different in the early days.
Yeah, exactly.
Not many clean sheets, let me tell you.
I can't cope with this on a Monday afternoon. Honestly. Loads of people in the chat already. Santa Knox, always good to see you. Ross Murphy in there as well. Chris R, James Kelland, everyone, thank you for getting involved. Jacoya Trot. Right, so Erik Ten Hag's transfer record. Yeah, what we're doing here now, how are we doing this? We're just giving it a rating out of 10.
I think we should...
What's the system, the rules?
I think a rating out of 10.
Okay.
Because you can give us so far, and we can give caveats, we can give juries out, etc., etc., etc. But I think so far, what you would have expected from their price tag and their reputation, and what they have delivered.
Okay.
Right?
First things first.
Yeah. First things.
Can we have some likes? Hit that like button. There's over 750 people watching, which, come on, we need to bump that up, but let's hit that like button as well. Right, so it was the first signing of the Erik Ten Hag era.
Well, according to this list, it was Martinez.
Lisandro
Martinez,
the Argentinian lad.
That's the one.
Right, yeah. It's decent, isn't
Played
it?
for him at Ajax, obviously.
Yeah.
Young-ish. Was he 24 at the time we signed him?
Very, very, very young man.
Young man.
Yeah.
5'9".
Anything below 60 is young.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's clinging on to that for another couple of years. 5'9", every bit of it as well. Every bit of 5'9".
Is he 5'9"? I didn't know that because his height has never been mentioned since he arrived or since we were linked with him.
Yeah, I know. And also, we're going to use this list as well to sort of, I think, push the fact that we should have done a little bit more this January. Because there's still some suggestion that we could sign someone in the next 24 hours, but the name doesn't even exist yet. So it's hard to know where that's going to come from. I mean,
more signings.
Admittedly, Bayern Munich have signed Cancelo, and no one knew that was happening until this morning.
I love a bit of that,
done.
I just love transfers, mate.
Yeah.
I love United transfers.
Yeah.
I'm not even bothered where we finish because we've had so many good transfers this season. I don't care about trophies and winning
Well,
matches.
the good thing about transfers is the better they are, the higher you finish.
Yeah. Do you know, that's very true.
So Martinez, 56 million is the reported fee. I think it's rising to that, I believe.
It depends, right? Because if it's like, if City or the Scousers buy someone, it's 40 million plus 20 million add-ons.
Yeah.
If United buy them, it's 60 million.
Yeah.
Like, they always go with the biggest chunk they can do.
Well, no, my favourite one is this, when they go, a contract, in a deal, a bumper deal worth 150 million over the 5 years.
They'll throw in the wages, the signing on bonus, the petrol, you know what I mean, the expenses, any all of that.
You know, what
just
is going
gets
to cost
added to it.
In food, in rent.
Yeah.
Like all the things that the United will ever pay for him. How many shirts is he going to wear? That's 60 quid.
That is all included in the transfer fee when it comes to reporting Manchester United.
We're looking at a total of around 55 million for Lisandro Martinez. To me, so far, he couldn't really have been better.
No.
He's changed the way United play.
Yeah.
He's changed, Ten Hag has changed the way United play, but he has enabled United to change the way they play.
Yeah.
We look so much more assured defensively with our defenders on the ball. He's taken Harry Maguire out of the team, which is obviously a massive thing, which could have easily been something to, I know a lot of fans that was almost a welcome relief, but he's a big name at the club, Maguire, because of the price tag and the fact that he's the club captain. That could have easily been a pressure too much for him.
Yeah.
He was getting slated by pundits early on. We don't have to go over it again. Obviously, Jamie Carragher sticking his nose in. And
you took him to task force face-to-face on the overlap.
And many others, obviously, doing a similar thing. It could easily have been too much for him. And yet, he's been almost impeccable in almost every game he's played for Manchester United. He's brilliant defensively. His intensity, his sort of hard work and his energy has lifted others around him. Even before Casemiro came in, we saw what it did to Diogo Dalot to help rejuvenate Luke Shaw, to bring Malacia into the team and look competent as soon as he arrived at the club. And I think a lot of that is down to Martinez. I know Varane's been excellent as well, but I really don't think it can be understated how good he's been. And because there's been so much focus on Casemiro for the last sort of 2 or 3 months, I think we've almost gone, oh yeah, Martinez, he's fine, he's sorted. But a left-footed ball-playing centre-back who's also excellent defensively are like absolute gold dust. Absolute gold dust, and all the ball playing sort of managers, or the managers that want their defenders to be good on the ball, are desperate for these sorts of players. And to get him for up to 56 million, but I think it's around 45 million is the starting fee, is actually not a bargain because it's so much money, but it's a really, really good price for the sort of defender that I think could be a sort of league-winning defender. I think he's that quality. Like I would have to give it. I don't know what's stopping me say 10 out of 10. Maybe just that sort of vague air of things can never be quite perfect. But to me, it's a 9 out of 10 signing, easy.
Well, you look at it now. Someone made a point. I think it's Ryan. Yanni says, not only is Martinez mint in his own right, he's making Varane look mint again. He really struggled with our other centre-backs last season, having to make up for their inadequacies. I think with Varane and Martinez, we've got the best centre-back pairing in the league.
This season, I would absolutely agree with you.
We have. Who's got a better City with Nathan Aki and who's the other kid? Akanji. Or even when everyone's fit, they seem to rotate because they can't make their mind up.
In terms of goals conceded...
And there's Saliba and Gabriel, don't be silly. Neither of them two get in our team.
No. In terms of goals conceded, Newcastle are
yeah, but you wouldn't say that...
Personnel-wise, they're nowhere near. No, I'm not. I think it's just
like,
worth mentioning they've conceded, 12 goals this season.
They've obviously having a very good season defensively and stuff like that, but you're not looking at Martinez and Varane going... Neither of them two walks into the Newcastle team.
No, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like Newcastle have obviously got a better defensive setup and, sort of, I'm going to stick my neck out here, probably got a goalkeeper who's performing better than our goalkeeper as well. But I don't think, I know you're not saying that, I don't think their centre-backs are better than ours. I don't think anyone would rightly claim that. I think you look at it, you've got, 2 World Cup finalists. Well, I know Martinez didn't play, but Varane was in the World Cup final. Martinez won the World Cup from the games he played leading up to the final. The way that Martinez got a load of stick and just ignored it and got on with what he's good at. And he's just rejuvenated the defence. He's rejuvenated the team. Do you know what I mean? Considering he's 56 million, is a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not. But it's not a type of money where you go, he's going to rejuvenate your entire defence. No. Like, that's what you get now for a solid signing. Yeah. He's been more than a solid signing. He's been someone who's come in, taken the place of the £80 million captain, got his teammates absolutely buzzing, got the crowd going. How often do you get a centre-back that arrives at the club and gets the crowd going? He does. Yeah. The crowd love him.
The last one I can think of was Vidic, where you would look at him and scream with excitement because of, like you said, the tackles, the energy, all that stuff.
You look at his initials, like everyone raves about Vidic and everyone rightly so. Took him a little while to get settled. Yeah. Martinez, Brighton, his debut at Old Trafford, I thought he had a good game. People said, jumped on him because we lost, but he had a good game. Yep. Brentford, 45 minutes, wasn't great. Wasn't really his fault for any of those, bar that one with Ben Mee where he fell over. Since then, though, the game against Liverpool was fantastic. Yeah. So I think he's just been a phenomenal player, phenomenal signing, exceeded all my expectations. I didn't imagine he could be this good. No. I thought he'd be a good signing because I trusted the manager, but he's been phenomenal. I think he's a 10. Yeah. I just think from what I expected and from what he's delivered, I can't imagine him being any better for Manchester United.
No, and like
there's nothing he could do, which I think would be, unless he started scoring loads of goals. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he's just been immense, and I might be getting carried away, but I don't care because I just think he is that good. Yeah, and like you said, when you think of the expectation, I'm teetering between a 9 and a 10. The only reason I'm not saying 10 is because it just feels wrong. It feels like you're going, well, he can do no wrong. It's been perfect the whole time. But he has been far better than expectation, and not just like, oh, he's not bad for some lad who's 5'9" from Ajax. He's been literally one of the best defenders in the league this season, up there with Varane. So, it couldn't have really been much better. Should we move on to our... I'll just get a couple of comments and we'll move on, because I want people to have a say. Abinam Verma says, I disagree, Jay. Newcastle have a defensive setup for the counter, hence they look good. Agree with the goalie. I think United needed... Well, that's pretty much what I'm saying. I'm saying they're not better than us, just the way they're set up. There's a bit of a debate going on with Whitterbird and someone else about Maguire, but she says it doesn't matter if Maguire has or hasn't had a good plan. He clearly isn't for has had a good game, sorry. He clearly isn't for Erik Ten Hag's plans. Martinez is. Yeah, Martinez fits in. Courtney Adesile says, Martinez is the best United player I've watched since Rooney. He plays with his heart. I can't help but love the guy. Yep. Listen, I don't mind that. Do you know what I don't mind? I don't mind people getting giddy and even a bit of hyperbole and over the top and excited. There's nothing wrong with that. We're too negative sometimes. And it's like me and you always say, it's so easy to tweet or to comment or to say things that are negative. Like, look at the faults or look at the players that no one likes. And we could sit here for the next hour and slag off Phil Jones and probably everyone would agree with us. Or is it better to get a little bit excited? Because football is a bit of that, isn't it? Getting emotional, going, do you know what? He's amazing. And I love Lisandro Martinez, and I think there's nothing wrong with saying that. Yeah. Right, go on. Who's the next one?
Christian Eriksen. 30-year-old Danish midfielder.
I have heard of him, yeah.
Most famous for his stint at Tottenham.
Yeah.
And unfortunately having a heart attack on the pitch. His career was at a point where he'd gone to Inter Milan and played a decent amount of games, but not been integral by any means over there. Obviously, what happened at the Euros happened. Then he was kind of out recovering for a long time. Then he went back to Brentford. Then he came up for free. I think it seemed like Tottenham went in for it at one point. looked like they were the favourites. Then all of a sudden, as United came in, they sort of backed out, and we had this kind of free run at him. Signed him, and I think a lot of people thought he'd be backup rotation to Bruno, but instead he's been, in the absence of the De Jong signing that we wanted, he's been this kind of orchestrating, receive the ball from the defence, sort of deep line playmaker, hasn't he? Almost not quite as defensively sound, but that kind of the passing role of Michael Carrick almost in there, where you get the ball from the defence, turn and find the people in front of you. And again, he's been excellent. What have you made of him?
Yeah, sorry, I missed the super chat before. Fergal McClellan says, be interesting to hear you rank them 1 to whatever. Tough choice between Lich and Casemiro for 1. Dubravka worse. Sorry, we're doing it out of 10, Fergal. I've been surprised at how good Eriksen is. And I think that Eriksen has this weird thing that people have sort of started criticising him a little bit more lately. And I think he gets a little bit of undue criticism. I think there's a reason that Ten Hag keeps picking him and wants him in that team and trusts him. And I think that sometimes Eriksen does those little passes that almost go unnoticed because they're not Hollywood. But it's that vital little pass that gets it from not really anything on to creating something. So it's not the assist necessarily, it's that telling pass that leads to an assist or that gets you going or that creates a bit of space, and then all of a sudden, Marcus Rashford has got him behind and Bruno's picked him out and we've got a goal. So I think Eriksen is having a very good season. He exceeded expectations when he arrived. I think he's been a very, very good signing indeed, and I'm absolutely buzzing we got him, because he was one of those where, when it looked like he had a decision to make between Brentford and United, I wanted him, but I wouldn't have been gutted. I wouldn't have been like, oh my God, I can't believe we didn't get Christian Eriksen. Yeah. Where now, I'd be wounded if he could be injured and I'm gutted. So I think he's a solid 8 out of 10, mate.
Yeah, I think a lot of us thought he might be past it. Both. Yeah. You don't know what, obviously physically we know what happened, but I think mentally the amount of wear and tear that sort of thing has on you. You can easily, any sort of big injury, leg breaks, or what happened with him at the Euros. It's mentally where that can often be the end of you, because playing at this level is such a mind game as much as it is a physical game. If your head's not right, you can go from being a world-class player to being barely a League One player overnight. And we've seen that happen dozens of times with many players. Obviously, no need to mention any names, but people who would be considered borderline world-class on their day have come to United even and looked barely playable. So I thought he might just be mentally done almost, sort of hanging on there. But his mentality is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's really annoying that Andy Carroll injured him the other day and didn't even get a booking for that tackle, which is mental. But he's clearly someone that's still got that mental edge. And in the big games as well against Arsenal, I think was one of his better performances, the 3-1. He was sensational in that game. And he's just one of those players that he just does the job you want him to do every single week. And for free, again, it has to be, I would say, 8.5 out of 10. I think it's been ridiculous. And I think he gets a little bit tired at 70 minutes and sometimes he's a bit leggy. But also, and the other thing that he's done is, he's if we needed it, which maybe we didn't, but he's further shone a light on the fact that Man United, if we want to be a modern, high-pressing, possession-based football team, we need midfielders who can pass, who can receive the ball in tight areas and keep the ball, whether that be with a pass or by dribbling out of it or turning away from the opposition. Like someone like De Jong, obviously, who Ten Hag wanted. Eriksen is the closest thing we've got to that, really. And I think for a long time we've not had anyone like him. And you realise now when you watch him play every week, Jesus Christ, he's one of the most important players in the team. One of the most important roles in this team is getting the ball off the defence and finding players further up the pitch. And we've struggled for so long without a player like him. I think he's great to turn up and highlight the fact that we can't go without someone like him again, really, if we want to keep playing like this.
No, 100%. It's just, it is just a joy to see a player like that and to see what he can do. And, when me and you were talking a few months ago, when we were linked with Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, we said, didn't we, you said, it was argument, is he good enough for United? Is he going to be... And I remember saying, he might come into this team and actually you say someone who's really good on the ball and you go, actually, this is a bit better than what we've got. Because, you know what I mean? Some of our players who are playing regularly, let's face that, the likes of Fred and McTominay, solid players, but not necessarily great on the ball. They're all right. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Well, you get someone like Eriksen, who is great on the ball. Yeah. And I remember being over in Norway when we played Atletico, And just like where we were sat, he's right near the corner flag. Just watching him sort of, the way he was fading in crosses and stuff like that, and you think, he's just a different class.
Yeah.
I did worry about whether he'd be able to keep up his pace or put up with the pace of Ten Hag's football. He does lag a little bit in the 70th minute. There's no point in denying that. But what 70 minutes you get out of him?
And also, he's got the second most assists of anyone in the Premier League this season. So it's not just under the radar stuff.
Weird that we were the only ones other than Brentford that wanted him.
I know.
Like,
when you think of the teams like Liverpool, when you look at their options in midfield now, he would be not perfect necessarily, but easily starting for them. Yeah. I think he'd start for Chelsea. I think he'd probably start...
Chelsea probably pay about 300 million for him.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd work at Tottenham because I don't know if he's got the legs to play that counter-attacking style and sit on the edge of the box for 80 minutes.
You'd have him in there, though, wouldn't you?
But there's loads. Brighton had worked with him. Brentford, obviously Brentford tried to get him, but plenty of teams where he would improve them. I'm surprised we were the only ones in for him. But
and I don't even think he's on ridiculous. He's on big money, but not like $1 million a week or anything where it's just like, no one went in for him because his wages were astronomical. Daniel Kirk says, so Casemiro's the best player in the world, isn't he? We'll get to him in a minute. Yeah. These aren't necessarily sort of dead accurate order of who signed first, but they're in a vague sort of order of the early signings moving onwards. We'll get in some of the comments, then we'll move on. Whitbird says Eriksen's autobiography will be absolutely ace to read when he does one. I think it will be, actually. What will be the title of Eriksen's autobiography?
Ticking Over.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were going to go with a reference to that, but
well, it needs to be something to do with keeping the game ticking over, but then also his heart. It's got to be.
Yeah,
because that's what they do.
Yeah,
so it's puns based on some notable part of your career. That always is.
Yeah, I like that. Ian Houghton says Eriksen.
No.
Okay. I think it'll be Christian Eriksen, the autobiography.
My story. Playmaker to pacemaker.
Boom. You've nailed it.
Thank you.
Eriksen, Ian Houghton says, Eriksen might only play for 65 minutes, but in Fred, we have the perfect replacement for him. Fair enough. Let's move on
Tyrell Malacia.
Tyrell Malacia. Yeah. Now, this one was buried under the radar, if that's a thing. Like, we heard a little bit about this, rumblings, he likes that kid from Feyenoord, the left back. Let's not kid ourselves. Very few people knew loads about him other than those that watch Dutch football week in, week out, which certainly not me.
Speak for yourself, Jay. We know a lot about him.
Yeah. At 40 million euros, I felt like he could be the worst player that's ever played for Manchester United and it wouldn't matter. No. Because it's like 40 million euros nowadays doesn't get you a League One player. So no one's going to lose their mind if Eriksen took a punt on someone and it didn't work out. And he could have been terrible. Because we didn't, you know what I mean? It could have been like when Fergie went and said, I remember Ralph Milne from my days in Scottish football and got him in and he was terrible. But Tyrell Malacia, I mean, we saw it against the Scousers when he came in for Luke Shaw, who'd had a bit of a difficult first couple of games, and he was mint. Yeah. And it's like, what you noticed against Liverpool was he might not be perfect as a left-back. He has got some frailties, but he makes up for them with his energy, with his effort. Yeah. So even if you're getting in behind him or you beat him, he'll get back and make a tackle. Yeah. He'll keep going. He's got that tenacity, he's got that hard work, and he's obviously got a lot of ability as well. He's not just in the team because he runs a lot. He's a talented young lad and a great attitude as well, which you would love to see. Obviously, revelling in his time at United. Yeah. The crowd, another one where I remember the end of the game against Liverpool, he's sort of roaring to the crowd, and you just see a young lad enjoying his football and enjoying playing for Manchester United and doing a very good job of it. Just a very, very good signing for me.
Yeah, we forget about we don't forget, but it's easy to forget how bad it was last season and how much we were just clinging on to any semblance of, or any suggestion that the players even wanted to be here, let alone playing well. Like Fred was lauded because he ran.
Yeah.
Do you know, like literally, that was the standard at Manchester United. If you run like any player would be expected to do from under 10s all the way up to being the Champions League winners, every footballer on earth is expected to try. That's literally the minimum requirement, turning up for the game and trying.
You obviously don't remember the Ralph Rangnick era.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you did that, you were lauded as like the best player in the squad.
Sorry, yeah.
That's what Fred. That was literally Fred last season. I'm not saying all he did was try. I know he's got talents and all that, but like compared to some of the people around him, trying made him stand out. So it's easy to forget that this was a team that was completely devoid of all confidence, all energy, all excitement. And Malacia comes in and brings all of that. And I think that's the other thing that we'll notice as we go through all of these players. Weghorst is another one that you can add to the list. It is hard-working, intense footballers. And we were so lacking that. We just had people who were so casual on the ball, who were sort of in it for themselves and had kind of got past the love of Manchester United. We've got players in there now, and I want to get to some of, when we come to Casemiro, some of the quotes from him the other day, but who love being here, who are trying hard as fuck every single minute of every game, and are making Man United a better team. And I think Malacia's got to get some credit for that, because Luke Shaw started this season how he ended last season, which was awfully. Yeah. Not tracking his man, not running back, not being a defender, basically, jogging about, doing nothing. Then Malacia comes in and completely changes it. And Luke Shaw's the sort of chimney sweep up there, and Malacia is the fire underneath him, because he realised, I can't just do nothing here. I can't take it easy and still get picked, because I've got this guy behind me who will go in for a tackle, miss it, spin round and get it the second time because he's working so hard. So I think it's helped Luke Shaw improve, and again, as he keeps needing, reminded him that you have to try hard or you won't play for Manchester United. And also, he's a talented player in his own right. I think I would give him a 7 out of 10.
I feel, right, like his signing for him is a 7 out of 10. But I think because of what he's done to Luke Shaw, I feel like that almost gives him an extra point. Yeah, it's almost like an 8 out of 10. Because Luke Shaw against Brighton and Brentford was terrible.
Yeah.
Luke Shaw last season was terrible. Luke Shaw, once he saw Tyrell Malacia starting that Liverpool game and starting the Southampton, Leicester, and I think it was the Arsenal game, was it?
Yeah.
Thought, I'm not having this. I need to, get back to my best. Luke Shaw's top end is much higher than Tyrell Malacia's.
Yeah.
He's a better left back. He just lost his consistency. Since Malacia's come in, Luke Shaw has upped his game. And also, because we've got Malacia at left back, when we need to, we can play Luke Shaw at centre back. And Luke Shaw's the best centre back in the history of association football.
His win record proves that.
He's unreal at centre back. And it's like, what is going on there? And Malacia allows you to do that. Because you wouldn't be able to. If you didn't have Malacia, then you couldn't risk that with Alex Telles. I know he's gone out now, but you wouldn't be getting away with that one. So I feel like, even though Malacia himself, I give a 7, I feel like giving him an 8, just because what he's done to Luke Shaw. Yeah. Either by enabling him to play at centre-back, or giving him a bit of a nudge up the backside to say, come on, son, you've got to, you're not going to walk into this United team anymore, because I'm here, and I can do a job. Let us know what you think about, I'll get into some of the comments. Glenn F says, I've just lost his, I think it was, he said something about his smile, sorry. I lost that one. I think he says something about Malacia's smile. Loves Malacia's smile. Hang on a minute. Sorry, my things are just... Whitterbird says Luke Shaw's only consistency was getting... only constant was getting booked last season. Other people getting involved as well, talking about other players. We'll get to Antony in a minute. Robert Wilhelm says the Malacia signing is the antithesis of Woodward's transfer strategy. How do you say it? Antithesis. Antithesis, thank you. Of Woodward's transfer strategy. Class smart business. We need more of this. 8 out of 10 for the price. Right, let's move on.
Yeah.
Oh, God, we have to talk about this duffer.
He makes me so happy.
He makes me happy and relieved we've got, the likes of Fred and McTominay to come in for him, because he's absolutely a waste of space.
Yeah, Casemiro.
Souness called him a steady Eddie, and that's a compliment.
I can't believe it. I honestly, I was thinking about it today. I was walking to work so happy today. I can't believe it. I can't believe he plays for us. It's absolutely insane that he plays for us.
Do you remember when he was linked? And we were stood there.
Yeah.
And I went, let's just get one thing straight.
Yeah.
We're not getting Casemiro.
No.
We're not getting knocked back by Adrian Rabiot and going out and getting Casemiro. Right? I can honestly say that I have never, ever been happier to be wrong in my life.
And it's one of those situations where, best case scenario, I thought, well, it must be past it.
Yeah.
Because, we got with Schweinsteiger from Bayern, where you think, Real Madrid don't let players go who are at their peak. I mean, obviously, Di Maria, they got a lot of money for him, didn't work out for us. I still think he had a lot of talent left and he was good for PSG. But by and large, they don't let players go and you go, oh, we shouldn't let them go. You leave Madrid when they want you to leave. But Casemiro has come in and arguably been, other than Haaland, probably the player of the season so far in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Certainly, I think United's best player of the season. I think he's our most important player. I think he's the biggest jump in the replacements. Or, do you know what I mean? Compared to his replacements, he's the biggest jump out of all of our first team players. We've got no one like him. There's not really many people like him in the world. And you look at what he's won and how consistent he's been over the last sort of decade. He doesn't miss games particularly. His injury record is phenomenal. His energy, his intensity. I've got a few stats. So his progressive passes puts him in the top 17% of midfielders, which for a defensive midfielder is obviously very good. His blocks puts him in the top 1%. Like literally just as good as it gets. His tackles put him in the top 5%. His clearances top 3%. His aerials won, so winning headers against opposition, top 3%. He's just not just like elite. He's as good as it gets in all of the areas you want him to be good at. And he's chipping in with goals. And the other thing that I want to talk about as well, because I don't want this to just turn into the Casemiro podcast, but it might have to. A couple of quotes from him from after the Reading game. So talking about the mentality that he brings. So he was saying, we know we're progressing within a plan. Step by step, we are building a well-structured team, and this is important. To win titles in the future, you have to build a solid foundation. He said, when you arrive at a new club, you always dream of making history, especially if we see the greatness of this club. We know the history. But of course, I was aware of needing some time to adapt and of the rivals having long-term plans before ours, City, Arsenal and Liverpool. They have managers that have been here for a while, and therefore they have an advantage. This is my favourite bit in a minute. He says, I'm happy with my adaptation here. My teammates and the staff are really helping me. Also, with the English language, it's been quite hard, but I'm trying to get better. Everyone has been lovely with me, and since the first day I felt at home, I appreciate all the effort that's gone into the club, and John Murtaugh included. I'm comfortable at Manchester United, extremely happy to be here, and enjoying every moment like a 15-year-old kid. He's just loving it as well, isn't he? Like, he brings that winning mentality, that thing of not dropping points in games. I know we did against Palace when he was playing, but other than that, we've not dropped a single point from a winning position while he's been playing for Manchester United this season. It's just amazing. He's just amazing.
My favourite quote of his is United apparently have been looking at him for the early part of the season. And after the Brighton defeat and then the Brentford loss, 4-0 loss to Brentford, there was a worry he might not come. And he messaged his agent and just said, tell them I'll fix it. No, I'm not coming. It's tell them I'll come and I'll sort it out.
Did you see that 4-0 loss there?
That ain't happening anymore.
I'll fix that.
Yeah, and he did.
And he has.
Yeah, like, he's just unreal. And he's, you know what he reminds me of? He reminds you about as well. And I said this a little bit with Varane. And I said this when players get linked with us and people dismiss United. People go, oh, he won't come to United. United are one of the biggest clubs in the world. Yeah. So if you're leaving Madrid, Real Madrid, there's only United, Barca, Bayern or Juve who are on a similar level in terms of stature of the size of the club and how revered and how respected it is worldwide. You might have a better team at certain other clubs and more recent silverware, but they're not bigger. No. Chelsea aren't as big as Manchester United. City aren't obviously as big as United. PSG, it's not. They're not. No. And Casemiro gives you a reminder of that. He's like, I'm keen to go to United. I'm loving it at United. I want to go and play in front of 76,000 fans. He gets all that. Yeah. He puts in the performances. And I always think that when you've got a player like that, just me as a fan, I always feel like we've got a puncher's chance of beating anyone. Yeah. I feel like if he's fit and we're going into a game against anyone in the world, genuinely, even Barcelona coming up, I know that's not the Barcelona of old, I feel we can do him. Had he played against Arsenal, I felt we'd have beat him. I do. Against City, I was confident we could do him. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? I predicted a win. And we did, because it's him. Yeah. Without him, I start thinking, oh, I don't know. With him there, I think we can do anyone.
Especially once you start putting the pieces together as well. So he's a massive one. And then you put Varane behind him, which is a massive one. Then you put Rashford up front, which is a massive one. Like, there's these boxes where, you know, Bruno's a big one as well. And Eriksen's slightly smaller, but still vitally important. Then Martinez, like we mentioned, another big block. And all of a sudden, you're painting this picture of a team that is very, very talented, but it's starting to have the mentality in the right areas. Varane and Casemiro in particular, what they've won together, the fact that I think Varane has won 11 of the 13 finals he's been in, isn't a coincidence. It's not just because he's playing for the best team all the time. A lot of the time he is. But Real Madrid didn't win the La Liga every year they won the Champions League. There's a difference. There's a big game difference that these people have. Bro, it's not just a player thing, it's a people thing.
So Alex Ferguson was the last person to beat Real Madrid in the final. And that was in 1983.
That was for Aberdeen. That was with Aberdeen, Jay.
That's not like, what is that?
I don't know.
What even is that? The only reason Varane lost the World Cup final is because he went off. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He won't look like...
It's because Ferguson was managing Argentina.
Yeah.
That's why.
Like, it's a mad psychology.
Yeah.
So like, you they just don't panic, do they?
No.
Like when they're in them situations, there's that confidence, that belief, that just, do you know what I mean? Like,
and that whole
we've got this.
Like, look at last season. I don't, to be honest, I couldn't even tell if Casemiro was playing. But you look at that Real Madrid team last season, the way they beat City in the was it semi-final that they played in? They no way should they have won that game. They got battered in the leg at the Etihad, and they got battered at the Bernabeu. And yet somehow Casemiro comes away with another Champions League, and Manchester City come away with fuck all. Because it's all about mindset. There's those final minutes in games, those big moments, where people like Casemiro will win you a trophy.
Yeah.
Like I said, you pair that with Varane and a couple of other players in there as well. Rashford is another big game player. I know he's not won a lot, but he does it in the big games. All of a sudden, you're starting to build a team where you think, this could be the foundation for a title, not just a Europa League or a League Cup. Casemiro is as good as it gets. So, to get to a rating, 10 out of 10.
There's 10 out of 10. And you're going back to the reason, why would Madrid let him go? I think when you look at... Madrid is the only club in the world that can probably... I don't think anyone can technically afford to lose him, but can lose him and still have good backups or good players coming in, because they've got an unreal midfield anyway.
Yeah.
And you look at obviously Camavinga coming in there. Do you know what I mean? I think he was the one... Was it him that swapped for him in the final? Not the final, in the semi-final against City. But they have got, obviously... some class there as well.
They've just spent massive money on Tchouaméni as well, haven't they?
Tchouaméni, sorry, yeah. And obviously, I know they've got players who are sort of past the peak, but they have got a very strong midfield. And listen, whatever reason that is behind it, the fact we've got Casemiro is just a joy to behold. Jacoya Trott, who's been a member of the academy for 20 months, says, imagine Casemiro could do what Brian Robson did by giving all his energy for the rest of his career and help United reach title success. That'd be great to see. Abhishek says, lads, it's not just the club, it's the manager and his presence that has brought back this feel-good factor back. He's the best summer signing yet. That's a good shout. I don't think any of this happens without the manager, obviously. Bruce Banner says, we need one last sign in the window, somebody solid to fill Eric's spot while he is injured. There could be something happening there. Good to see Solo in the chat as well. Big up Solo. He says, big up Jay. Good to see you from the United Agenda. Casemiro, absolutely love the man.
Yeah.
Who's next on our list, my friend?
Slightly controversial. Antony.
Yeah, this is the only one in it that's going to be up for a discussion about should we abort him? Is he a success? Will it pan out? I don't feel like there is these questions, or there has been these questions, even in the chat, about any of the players we've spoken about.
Big one.
But this one, 100 million euros, which is horrible, because it's that thing of it's 100 million that everyone can sort of mention and talk about, and it's that big figure. And also the fact that about 2 months or a month earlier, we could have got him for 40, I think, which is just, the United way. And he's in that position where you've got to do things. Do you know what I mean? You've got to make things happen. That's why he cost 100 million. So if you're not making things happen, it's noticeable. If you have a quiet game and you're a midfielder, it's okay sometimes, because, you know what I mean? It means you might be doing your job. If you have a quiet game when you're an attacker, it's not good.
No.
And he does have a quiet game sometimes, doesn't he? What have you made of him, and what's your ranking for him?
I think you have to take price tag into account, obviously.
Yeah.
You can't just pretend he was a free transfer when he cost 100 million euros. But I think he's improved Man United.
Okay.
So he's getting a 5 out of 10 minimum from me already.
Yeah.
Because if you come in and you make us better, that's better than average.
Yeah.
Because we've had so many signings that have made us worse, let alone, sort of stayed the same. We've had a lot of signings that have come in and made Manchester United a worse team. And I think he brings something that we didn't have before, which is, even though I know he's left-footed, but his natural width on the right-hand side, which he sort of sticks Sancho out there, and that's been hit and miss. Rashford is always wasted, I think, on the right-hand side. Then after that, you're looking at Antony Elanga as that option, and I don't think that he's necessarily £100 million player either by any means. But he's getting goals. He's getting a goal every 3 games at the minute for United, and I just think he's just showing some signs of coming out of this little slump in form that he's had. That pass to Casemiro against Reading was sensational. Yeah, like a sort of
got player of the match in that game as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and I think part of that was because Lee Dixon had been told by all his mates that he was shit, and because he had a half-decent game, he thought, well, he's better than I thought, so he must be man of the match. But I do think he had a good game. Do you know what I mean? He was like, everyone told me Antony was terrible, but he was all right today. But he is all right. That's the thing. If you actually watch him, he does loads of good things in every game. He goes past his man, he keeps his width, he plays to the system. I know that you don't have to pay 100 million quid for someone who can follow instructions, but Ten Hag needed someone to come in with him, and Carl Anker mentioned this last week, but he needed someone to come with him that knew the system.
Yeah.
We don't have a right winger that is functioning at the level we want to at the moment. You don't have the time to sort of teach someone overnight, so we're going to bring in the guy that you know can play the way you want to. And that's going to come at a premium, especially after Ajax have had Gravenberch and I think Tagliafico left there in the end, and Mazraoui left, and Martinez left, and I think Haller had gone to Dortmund as well at that point. So they'd had their squad sort of ripped apart already. And then we went, we want your, most expensive or most valuable player, please. It's going to cost a lot of money. But I think he's improved United. I think there's a lot more to come from him. Finding out whether he's got a right foot or not would be interesting at some point because he's not used it yet. But I think he's made us better. And I think that, you look at the team and the way it's performing, you can't take someone out of that and say, you've been absolutely awful despite us being on one of the best runs of form we've been on in years. So I think that would be slightly unfair. So I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. I think he's been good, but no more than that.
He started off well in the Premier League, didn't he, with goals. He got 3 goals in his first 3 games. Yeah. And then the goals have dried up. Obviously, he's not scored in the Premier League since then. I think he's got 1 goal in the League Cup, 1 goal in the FA Cup as well. Yeah. So he's got like 5 goals for United, which is not amazing, but it's not terrible. Yeah. I think that there is a case to be made about him coming out of that slump that he spoke about. Obviously, just before the World Cup, he got injured, and there was a few people going, is he injured or is he World Cup, Brazil, I want to be there. Yeah. But, I always give players the benefit of the doubt and say they're injured, so I'm going to say he was injured. Came back, wasn't great, I think we can admit that, but, did get a couple of cup goals. And now we're seeing signs. I know Steve was quite critical of him after the Arsenal game, but I didn't see it like that. I thought he was actually lively in that game, and I thought he was causing problems. Yeah. And I certainly think in the Reading game we saw more of what we want to see from him. He got player in the match. Yes, you're right. It might be because Lee Dixon thought he was worse than he expected, but he did play some good passes. He did cause problems. Yes, you'd expect him to against Reading, but you can only do that. It's not his fault that the opposition's not great. You can only beat what's in front of you. And he had a good game. So,
what are you ranking him, mate? Have you been a bit underwhelmed, would you, maybe?
I've been a little bit frustrated at times. And I think one thing I know is with wingers, that's the nature of the beast. All these wingers we revere now were so frustrating at times. Giggs was frustrating at times. People don't want to talk about that because he won 13 Premier League titles and the treble and another Champions League, and he was, one of the most successful players. I watched Ryan Giggs for his entire Manchester United career. Yeah. He could be very frustrating. Yeah. He could have slumps. There was periods where he wasn't getting in the team and he was still, he was 10 years off retirement. Yeah. So it's not like that's, one of the greatest sort of left wingers of all time. Yeah. It happens. Do you know what I mean? Nani, who everyone, you show you Nani's highlight reel, he looks like the greatest player that's ever lived. He was one of the most frustrating players I've ever watched in my life. Yeah. But when he wanted to, he could win you a game. And I think there's a touch of that about Antony. When he's on it, he could be a match winner. He's just struggled a little bit. I think you've got to give him time. It's in a new league. There's a big expectation. There's a big price tag. He's the one out of all the players we've mentioned so far who is carrying the biggest price tag and who has got the most pressure on him. Yeah. Because I feel like with Martinez, it was like, okay, you're coming in, and he's got a lot of pressure because he's coming in, taking Maguire's place and all that. There's not probably as much expectation on him, though. I certainly didn't. Eriksen are free. Casemiro just won the Champions League. He's won 5 Champions Leagues. The guy's just, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, he's chilling here. He's like, I ain't got nothing to prove. Antony's coming here. He has got a bit to prove. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Also, Malacia's not really got anything to prove with a €40 million price tag. So I do feel a little bit sorry for him. But he has got to perform better overall than he has done. I think there's no point in pretending he's been a rip-roaring success because he ain't. So I'm going to be quite kind to him. I'll go 6 out of 10. Yeah. And I think I'm being a bit kind there because it's probably 5. I'm tempted between 5 or 6, but I don't like doing 0.5s. So I'll go with 6, but he needs to do a bit more. We think we can all agree on that. Yeah. And I'm confident. He's only a young lad. I'm confident he will do as well. He's got a bit of fire in his belly, which I like. And he at least, we've seen it recently, him trying to beat the man. I don't mind if you try and beat the man and you can't. What I don't like is when you don't try. Do you know what I mean? Like, all good wingers get tackled. They always do, but they'll keep going. And then they'll beat the man and give you that cross or that goal that can win you the match. And that's what he's got to do because, you don't want to see a winger go into himself and just not being willing to have a run at a player. Get involved in the chat. Sahil Patel says, why don't we just swap the price of Antony and Martinez in the books and everything is golden? Money went to the same place anyway. I'm not a CPA.
I like that idea. Take the pressure off Antony a little bit and put a bit more pressure on Martinez and he can handle it.
Yeah.
Then you'll get less stick.
Ross Murphy says Mudryk at Chelsea. He's the same big price tag. DWM says 7 out of 10. Handy Andy says I'd give him 7 for kissing the badge on his debut. I love that celebration against Arsenal where he did like 4 celebrations.
Yeah.
He did his normal celebration, then he went and got the ball and he did that thing, and then he went and kissed and all that. It was like the Arsenal fans were going berserk because he was taking so long and the referee had to drag him away. But why not, mix it up a bit. Who have we got next on our list?
Weghorst. The workhorse.
Weghorst, the workhorse, yes.
Yeah. Come in, replace the now injured Antony Martial. He's been injured for most of the season, really, hasn't he, Martial?
It's ridiculous. It's not his fault, but it is ridiculous.
On loan from Burnley. We had to get special dispensation from Besiktas. It was Besiktas, wasn't it? To convince them to terminate his loan to go back to Burnley to then be loaned to us.
Has there ever been dispensation that's not special?
Oh, I've had
Have you?
a few times.
I thought it was one of those things. It's always special.
You've dispensed some less than special things in your time, haven't you?
That is true, but I don't like you talking about my children in that way. Thank you.
Sorry, Jay. But
yeah, it's weird with Weghorst, isn't it? Because people go, "Oh, it's a tap-in." I mean, if he does anything, it's a bit of a bonus. But no, he needs to do well.
Yeah.
We had this sort of attitude, or some people had this attitude with Igalo, and then you get to an FA Cup semi-final against Chelsea where he's leading line and he's just not up to it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's just that, because there were other reasons that I think either led the line or he came on. I can't remember my memory's hazy, but he played in that game and he didn't really do anything. He might have even come on, I think. I'm not sure, but you need players that can do things in big games, not just against Reading and against whoever, but, if he's needed for the derby or against the Scousers or for Arsenal, he has to be able to play in those games, because otherwise he's pretty useless to you. Because Antony Martial's been injured that often this season that you're going to need Weghorst.
he's probably going to play both legs against Barcelona.
Yeah. So don't get much bigger than that.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't just have him there to win you the easy games when other players aren't ready. Because also, United's backup needs to be the sort of player that can win those games and can play in those games, whether it's Weghorst going forward from next season onwards or whatever. But as it stands at the minute, you can't rely on Martial physically, and obviously we'll get to Weghorst ratings in a minute. But United probably need 2 strikers this summer, really. Do you know what I mean? We need someone that is going to win you those big games, by themselves, and then someone that can come in as well. Maybe Martial will be the backup, but we need strikers, and he was the one we could get. But I do think he's got some good qualities. I think his hold-up play is very good, and you see that more traditional number 9 stuff from him where you go, oh yeah, I haven't seen us do that in a little bit. Because Ronaldo doesn't really play that way, and his strengths were always slightly more, give me the ball, give me it now, or I won't like you anymore.
That's it, innit?
Yeah.
That is his attitude.
If
you don't pass me, or if you say anything nasty about me on the telly, or criticise me in any way, I won't be your mate anymore.
Yeah. And it felt like that. It did feel like watching a team where if they didn't pass to Ronaldo, he'd be annoyed at him.
Me and you you mainly led the way in a tactical analysis of how, against Newcastle, it was like Jadon Sancho's in acres of space. No, I'm going to pick out Ronaldo because he's my mate and I want to play for Portugal in the World Cup. Yeah. It felt like that. I'm not trying to be, sort of criticising Delo and Bruno, but we had instances.
Antony is always guilty of that.
It was like, we've got the blinkers on, we've got to get it to Ronnie.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
No, but I think with Weghorst, you've got a striker that is, it couldn't be more sort of, you don't have to pass to him if you don't want to. He is only there if he's the right option. And I quite like that. I like having a Haaland. Obviously, I'm not saying I prefer Weghorst to Haaland, but when you've got a faltering sort of player like Ronaldo, someone like Weghorst comes in and you go, actually, we can play a more, streamlined system without him. Yeah. Because you just do the right thing every time. Give him the ball and knock it off. He's not going to go past a man. He's not very quick. We need someone better than him long term. But he's highlighted to me again that a proper number 9 who can win the ball, can sort of press in on follow-ups, like we saw his goal against Forest. Yeah. He's running in there. Antony with a great strike, deflected and bounced back out to Weghorst, puts it in the roof of the net. Brilliant goal. And I just think like having a proper number 9 in there is a good thing. And even against Arsenal where we lost, I thought he played well.
No, I did. I thought he did.
For their defenders.
I thought he got a lot of undue stick.
Yeah.
It was like, people going, I can't believe bought this guy to replace Ronaldo, and it's like, well, we didn't.
No,
Do you know what I
Ronaldo
mean?
was going either way.
Yeah,
We didn't
it's
go,
not like-
we don't need Ronnie Weghorst,
Exactly,
is it?
exactly. And I think that's harsh. You can't really look at him like that.
No, what you need to say is Ronaldo abandoned Manchester United, and he was the one who was willing to step up.
Exactly, man. Come on. Do you know what I mean? It's let's have it how it is. And I think Weghorst has been a very, very good signing so far. Early doors, too early to give him a proper ranking. I'll give him 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Just because he's been solid in the games we've seen. Other than the Palace game, I thought he was pretty anonymous, but since then he's been very useful. I like what I see.
Yeah, I think I give him a 6 just for the same reason. You know, when a sub comes on and they don't really get much chance to do anything, you give them a 5 or a 6 just because I don't know yet. But I'm seeing promising signs, and hopefully he can get 3 or 4 more goals before the end of the season. A couple of crucial ones, hit the old Teddy Sheringham stride, get us through in a couple of competitions, and be a successful signing. But again, it's highlighted what United need long term. At the end of the season.
Joe, I've really enjoyed that going through that. Loads of people praising Weghorst, saying he gets Capo Dye says he gets stuck in. He does get stuck in. And Pradhan says he closes down like crazy. He certainly does. Yes. Joe, thanks for that. Where can people find you?
Well, have we got a Wally of the Week first?
Oh, sugar, yeah, sorry.
Have you got one?
Yeah, do you know what? I have got a Wally of the Week. Go on, you go first.
And it's got to be Liverpool, hasn't it? Liverpool Football Club. You can't keep losing to Brighton.
No.
I know they're good, but at some point you've got to go, we finished second by a whisker last season. We were like 2 90-minute games away from winning 4 competitions last year. The first team that would have ever done that. And now it's just accepted that they're shit because they haven't spent loads of money. They were second in everything. They were second in the Champions League, second in the league. Did they win the FA Cup and the League Cup in the end? They did, didn't they? They won those 2. Yeah. And it's like you were a whisker away from the greatest English football season that has ever happened. And now it's just okay to lose to Brighton every week. I know they're having a good season, but fucking get a grip. I mean, I'm glad they're not. But Klopp's not got much to work with. He's only got a £100 million striker on the bench because he's not been very good. It must be so difficult having the second best team in England and the second best team in Europe and now not being able to beat Brighton ever. So, yeah, Liverpool FC. Just accept that it's fine that they're doing shit. They're having one of their seasons again where the inhalers aren't working. It's just crap.
Yeah, no,
Thank God, by the way.
Yeah, definitely thank God. Oliver Edwards here says Zahawi wanted to send get your bets in. Do you know what? I'm not going to go with Nadeem Zahawi, who obviously got asked to leave government yesterday, but I am going to get political. I'm going to go with Rishi Sunak as well because
Richard who?
Richard Gere. Common knowledge down the feathers. I'm going to go with Rishi Sunak because I'm waiting for this investigation or this inquiry or whatever. I'm not going to sack him. He's broke the ministerial code. I'm going to get rid of him. You put Suella Braverman back into your cabinet after she'd been found to break the ministerial code. So let's not pretend you've got any scruples. You haven't.
She'd literally been sacked
4 days ago.
Or 4 days,
or something like that. Yeah. And it's like, well, this is a new government. It's next week.
That's like going, I know you murdered someone before, but I'm the new policeman in town and I'm letting you back out again. Because that murder you done before doesn't count because I wasn't in charge.
You murdered someone on December 24th. That was last year.
Yeah.
Come on, this is 2023 now.
Ever heard of
Let's
New Year's
just
resolutions?
move on.
If you tell me your New Year's resolution is to do no more murdering, you're out.
Exactly.
You're free to go, big boy.
I'm sorry for getting political, but it just winds me up the state of the leaders in this country. I've put a link into Sloppy Joe's and to Scotty and Motti. Sloppy Joe's, when you next out?
We've got a Patreon live at 6 o'clock tonight. So if you are a patron, make sure you tune in. If you aren't, go to Sloppy Joe's podcast and check
put a link in the chat. Also, me and Scotty will be live after that at 7. Woo! So you get your fill of me and Joe if you've not had enough of us already. Don't forget as well to hit like, share and subscribe to this channel, of course. I've been Jay. That's been Joe. This has been Ranking Manchester United's transfers under Eric Ten Hag. Thanks for watching.